Hello, and welcome to Up Zubafy, where we take 10 minutes and talk about a poem. You might think, I don't have time to read a poem, but if you have 10 minutes to doom scroll, you have 10 minutes to read a poem. So look, just do your brain a solid. Take 10 minutes here. Learn with Zubafy. Yes. Today's poem is called A Station of the Metro. It was published in 1913. It was written by Ezra Pound. Ezra Pound was one of the premier Imagist poets. He's actually the founder of the Imagist movement. His movement influenced the way that people wrote poetry because he influenced people to write very short, to write very concise, to write very exact. And he believed that the job of the poet is to describe an image to the reader. If the Imagist poets did their job, the reader could understand everything the poet was saying from a very brief poem. This is one of his most famous Imagist poems, In a Station of the Metro. I'll do you a favor and I'll read it for you. In a station of the metro. The apparition of these faces in the crowd, petals on a wet black bough. This leaves you. You might be thinking, what am I supposed to do with this? And my answer is, it's up to you. Pound was inspired by modernist painting movements like Cubism that relied on abstract images to convey meaning. This is not an abstract image. It's a very concrete image, but meaning at the same time is a little bit abstract. You have to create your own meaning from reading it. Let's take it line by line and think about what we do know in each line. In a station of the metro, the title counts as a line of the poem here. This is probably the most specific thing that this poet says. He locates the poem in a specific place. It's a station of the metro. It could be maybe any station. We do happen to know that he wrote it about the Paris metro, but I don't know if I think that is that important, because you've probably seen a metro in any number of cities and they have a lot of commonalities. The apparition of these faces in the crowd, petals on a wet black bough. The second line is perhaps introducing the first concrete, concise image of the poem. We know that there are faces. He describes them, though, as an apparition, which is kind of weird, right? An apparition is like a ghostly image. It's often blurry, it's hard to make out. And then the next line, petals on a wet black bough. This is another image. It's perhaps a little bit more descriptive. Maybe it evokes more striking visual imagery in your mind. Notice the colon after crowd. That is a type of punctuation that's often suggests equivalence. To me, then, it suggests that the apparition of these faces in the crowd, maybe petals on a wet black bough is what that apparition looks like to this poet. Most obviously, probably, the petals that he is describing are the faces, and they're the faces of the people. They look like they're on a wet black bough. Perhaps then he's giving us an image of these people's faces against the backdrop of the station of the metro. And the whole point here is just the vibe. It's just the feeling. It's the impression that you get. People often say that this poem is gloomy. I guess it's probably gloomy because wetness is a little bit gloomy and black is gloomy. Apparitions, ghostly, suggest death. That could be gloomy. But there's something also beautiful, possibly, working in tension with this gloom. These faces are like petals. Petals are parts of flowers. Flowers are beautiful. Here's another tension. The title is an urban scene. The second line is kind of an otherworldly image with the use of the word apparition. So it's usually like a trace of a spirit from another world that we can see in our world. So the second line is almost supernatural. And then the third line is completely in the world of nature. Petals are nature, wet, a black bough, a big tree branch, nature. So you've got these three distinct types of lines. urban metropolitan technology, the supernatural world, and the world of nature running in parallel at the same time. Think of these as tracks on a song. They're all playing at the same time. Ezra Pound, like other poets of his time, like E. E. Cummings, was aware that poetry had transitioned from being a primarily oral medium to a print medium. He knew that the reader can see all these three lines at the same time. The reader could behold them at the same time, making it easy for them to draw connections between the faces and the petals and the crowd and the bough. And notice even the punctuation. The colon, as I said, is suggesting equivalence between the first line and the second line. There is one comma between wet and black and one period. That's the only punctuation. 3 types of punctuation, each used only once. Period at the end, suggesting this is all one thing. So at this point, you might be wondering, what am I supposed to do with this? How am I supposed to interpret the meaning of a poem so abstract and so simple? What can be there for me? To me, in some ways, it suggests there's a lack of a boundary for Pound between the metropolitan world of the station and the metro, between the human and supernatural world of the apparition in these faces and the crowd, and between the natural world and the petals in the wet black bough. Traditional thinking would suggest that these are all kind of separate worlds or separate realms. To me, this poem questions if these are separate realms or if they're all really happening simultaneously, but we just often think of them as being separate and different. And so, yeah, it is some kind of image, but what kind of image is it for you? Is it a positive image? Is it a negative image? I think this is all left up to interpretation. That's one of the beauties of Imagist poetry. One key element for me is the fact that these are petals, not whole flowers. Many poets of Ezra Pound's generation, which we call in America the Lost Generation, were appalled at the carnage of World War I in the ways that they felt like the modernization of the world was disconnecting man from the world of nature and isolating man and alienating man from the world. These petals, in a way, suggest the idea that maybe reality has been broken into pieces, that reality is fragments, that we can only see fragments of the world. That's what these people are reduced to. These faces are now petals, leaving the question of whether they're united by anything. Maybe, but if they are united, they're united by the wet black bough, which is like part of the apparition. They're united by some ghostly quality, possibly suggesting they're united by their life and they're united by their death, which kind of takes the humanity out of the people. It evacuates humanity from the image in a way, which to me is linking to this idea of the apparition, this idea of being close to death. And you notice that there is only one apparition. It's not multiple apparitions. So maybe death is what unites us. Maybe it's our closeness to death and our alienation from the world in Pound's view. Modernists like Ezra Pound were working against the realist idea that there is an objective world. So maybe in this poem, all these different petals are fragments of reality that can never be connected, that we can never fully see the whole until death. This is just one interpretation of the poem. Do you have a different interpretation? That's cool. Let me know. Put it in the comments. I would love to hear it. I would love to reply to you. Thanks for watching Zubafy. Come back for our next edition of Pop-Up Zubafy.